So a lot has happened with NIO stock over the past few months, to say the least. We've had new exciting announcements, dramatically improved sales, all of which have sent the stock skyrocketing. And as a result, a lot of you have been asking me to do an update video and share my thoughts. So that's exactly what we're gonna do in today's video. We're gonna talk about everything that's going on with this red hot electric vehicle company. And as always, I'll let you know if I plan to buy the stock myself or if I'll be staying on the sidelines. Should be a fun one. I hope you guys enjoy this, but let's go ahead and dive straight into it. Okay, now as you guys know, NIO is that electric vehicle startup company out in China with somewhat similar ambitions to that of something like Tesla. And at first, many people laughed at even the thought of comparing these two companies, and even now, many still do. But you know what? NIO has actually been doing a pretty good job of growing and meeting their goals. As of today, they've already launched 4 different models of electric vehicles. There was the very first EP9, which was a really expensive like supercar that was actually the fastest EV in the world, which really helped prove their concept and technologies. Then they launched the more mass market vehicles, starting with the large flagship SUV called the ES8. Then came the smaller and cheaper ES6 SUV crossover. And finally, they just now recently released the smallest and cheapest version, the EC6 SUV crossover coupe. Meanwhile, they've developed and continuously refined their amazing technologies, including an artificial intelligence assistant, autonomous driving systems. I think they're even working on a chip now too, fast charging infrastructure across China that even includes innovative battery swap stations, and even more obscure things like an intelligence fragrance system that can release different scents. And they've even designed a concept car called the NIO Eve. Still, in large part due to the struggling Chinese economy that was hurt even further by both the trade war and later the global health crisis, NIO has struggled to maintain their high sales growth. Initially, vehicle deliveries soared in 2018, crashed in early 2019 because of seasonality and the trade war, rebounded again later in the year to a new record of over 8,000 in the fourth quarter, but then came crashing all the way back down again, this time to less than 4,000 in the first quarter, which was a quarter-over-quarter decrease of over 50%, as the pepperoni sent the global economy crashing into one of the worst recessions we've ever seen. To many investors' surprise though, NIO came roaring back in the second quarter as deliveries skyrocketed to a new record high of over 10,000 deliveries, representing a quarter-over-quarter increase of almost 170%. And it didn't stop there. That momentum somehow carried over into the third quarter as well, as they broke yet another new record, this time at over 12,000 deliveries, which was a year-over-year increase of over 150%. And that's basically where we currently sit today. And as you might expect, that volatility sent the stock crashing early in the year, all the way down to just $1.36 per share, which is extremely low, and it's hard to even see on this chart, as the stock proceeded to absolutely skyrocket from the bottom, surging all the way up to almost $30 a share, which is an increase of over 2,000%. What an incredible ride this has been, and they currently sit, somewhat close to those levels still. I actually used to own this stock myself, as many of you know, and I was still a fan of them even when I sold out of it, but I just felt that I already had enough exposure to the EV market, with Tesla being my second largest stock in my portfolio, so I ended up selling it for a small profit just because it was a little too risky and speculative for me. But and I do wish that I would have held on to those shares. Anyway, that's not too big of a deal. I'm not someone who likes to dwell on the past. I'm very grateful for the stocks that I do own that have performed so incredibly well, and I'm always looking forward and into the future. Speaking of which, where is NIO headed in the future? What are some of the other reasons why the stock has climbed by so much, and what are they planning to do in the future that has investors and analysts so excited, like, for example, JP Morgan Chase, who just about a week ago raised their price target on NIO stock to as much as $40 a share. Well, let's talk about why there's so much optimism in the stock, and I'll let you know if I plan to buy the stock myself anytime soon. Let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so the stock has been red hot over the past 6 months, climbing by double-digit percentages in each of them, almost 100% in June, over 50% in both July and August, and another around 30% this month as well in October. Again, the biggest reason is due to dramatically improving sales, as well as a slurry of great news that just really seem to hit almost every single month that has led to analysts raising sales estimates to over 100% revenue growth this year and another 80% growth the year after as well. And as high as that is, it's really not all that unthinkable. China's automobile market has recently begun its recovery, posting their first quarterly sales increase in 2 years, and that's boosted their EV sales by even more. In August, passenger vehicle sales grew by about 9%, while EVs soared by 26% as they continue to march towards a takeover of the ICE market, with China still being by far the largest EV market in the world, and it's not even close. As you can see on this chart here, China is the leader there in black, followed by Europe, the United States, and then the rest of the world. It's pretty crazy. And not only is that a huge market, but NIO is still just a tiny player in it, with the ES6 crossover still in the 7th place behind several other makers, including Tesla's Model 3 sedan. Now, that could obviously be seen as a negative, as NIO stock has been soaring as if it were kind of dominating the market, but on the other hand, it could also be looked at as plenty of room for them to keep growing in the future. Don't forget, NIO just barely started delivering their smaller and cheaper EC6 coupe last month to better compete with Tesla's Model Y, and they're even working on a new sedan that should help them compete with Tesla's sedans as well, and that should probably release sometime next year, maybe even in the first half of next year. NIO also competes in the higher end market, so while their overall market share is small, it could become a big fish in their specific segments. And these are far from the only developments that have sent the stock soaring. Throughout the year, NIO has been raising capital by selling stock, and they've secured huge investments from the Chinese government, as well as highly reputable companies like Tencent, who is essentially doubling down on them as well. A lot of this has led to analysts upgrading the stock. In fact, 4 of the last 5 revisions were upgrades, and that even includes UBS, who was previously bearish on NIO. And while competition is high, especially from Tesla as well as more direct competitors in the luxury EV market in China, like, for example, their new rival in XPeng Motors, NIO is really doing a great job of leveraging their impressive technologies to stand out and grow larger. For example, one issue that NIO struggles with is that their vehicles tend to be on the more expensive side, tend to be more expensive than the cheapest Tesla Model 3, for example, since they can't really lower their prices because they're still unprofitable, and so you can't really take a hit on your margins when you're losing money like that. But one of the innovative ways that they've tried to bring down their prices is to leverage their battery swap technology into a battery as a service model, where the initial price of the vehicle drops dramatically because you basically just buy it without the battery, and then you kind of lease out the battery. You pay like a much more affordable subscription fee every month, and then that allows you to just have battery swaps, which is actually pretty enticing because most homes in China don't have charging infrastructure for EVs. So battery swaps are a great way to just kind of quickly charge up when you're on the road. It only takes less than 5 minutes, and it can be a much cheaper alternative to paying a huge lump of money up front. Now, NIO is also planning to expand internationally, possibly as soon as next year, starting with Europe, where EVs are obviously very popular, and their autonomous driving systems are also, they're so competitive that even Intel's Mobileye division is planning to use NIO vehicles for their upcoming robotaxi fleet. That could be in the next few years as well. These moves could be large boosts to their revenue growth, which will be needed as they march towards profitability. Still, there are certainly reasons to be cautious with NIO stock. First and foremost, like I said, they're not a profitable company as they continue to lose hundreds of millions of dollars of operating income every single quarter, although to be fair, they've definitely been heading in the right direction in recent quarters. Still, because they're not profitable, the stock has to be judged based on sales, and when looking at sales from the past year, companies like Ford and GM both did over $100 billion each, while Tesla topped over $25 billion, but NIO only did a little over 1 billion themselves. Again, it's a very young company. And yet, if you look at their price to sales ratio, NIO trades for a massive 26, while Tesla is significantly lower at 16, and Ford and GM each come in at less than 1 themselves. That means that NIO is selling for around a 60% premium to Tesla on a PS ratio basis. That's pretty crazy to imagine paying 60% more for NIO over something like Tesla, who is obviously the proven leader in the EV market, and in my opinion, will likely be the world leader well into the future as well. Now, to be fair to NIO, they of course have much higher growth, which is the reason why so many growth investors have flooded into the stock, and they're expected to top revenue growth of over 100% this year, while Tesla is much lower at 23%, and Ford and GM are actually both negative by double digits. So the idea is that because NIO has such high growth, that valuation could come down fairly quickly. But many would argue that Tesla is already too expensive. So if NIO is to ever come down to even like a comparable level to Tesla, they're going to really have to maintain much higher growth over them over several years to come. And it's not exactly easy to predict whether that will happen in the future. Look, NIO remains one of my absolute favorite spec stocks in the market, but that's exactly what it is. It's speculation on how successful they'll be in the future. And China is no joke. There's a lot of competition heating up out there, and Tesla remains king in my opinion. So for someone like me who is not already invested in NIO and has a gigantic position in Tesla, my second largest stock in my portfolio, who doesn't really need any more exposure to the electric vehicle market, it is a little scary to jump into something like NIO stock at this valuation right now. Now, having said that, we've been talking a lot about Tesla, and usually when people compare Tesla to NIO, it's in a negative light for NIO. But I actually think Tesla is a good thing for NIO's success, and let me explain. So when you look at Tesla, what they've done in the electric vehicle market to really prove the concept, get people excited about EVs, they've really pushed the market forward much faster than I think anybody was really expecting, especially traditional ICE vehicle makers. But I think that rising tide is going to lift all boats. I think it's going to make the market bigger and do it faster. And I think that will get people more excited for EVs, and I think that will translate to more sales for NIO. So I think Tesla really helps NIO. On top of that, I also think that the market will be so incredibly large that I think there will be plenty of room for multiple competitors, and I don't see any reason why NIO can't be somewhere near one of the top players, especially out in China. So as a spec stock, look, I've seen people gamble money in much riskier stocks than this one, and I know that it's climbed a lot already and it's at a gigantic valuation, which are the reasons why I personally just can't buy the stock. I just can't jump into it. I really don't need it, and the price is just too high. I would need it to either come down or for them to grow into that valuation over time and be less risky. Then maybe I would reevaluate, and of course, I'll update you guys if anything changes. But as a spec stock, kind of accepting and acknowledging the risk that you're taking, might not be that bad of an option. I really don't think they're going to go under. I feel like if they were to go under, they would have already done so during this last, gigantic recession. I think China really wants companies like NIO to be successful because they have so many problems with pollution and they're trying to lower emissions. And NIO actually does a great job with their technology and designing very beautiful cars that are very attractive, and I think that people would want. But the competition is still very high, and that valuation is also very high. So I can't buy into the stock myself. But again, it does remain one of my favorite spec stocks. I love to track it, and I'll keep making update videos for you guys. But I don't think I'll be owning it anytime soon unless something dramatically changes, which of course I'll let you guys know. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Do you own NIO stock? Would you like to own it? Let me know your thoughts. And I think that's about it. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks again. Take care. Bye-bye.